The PBC has now parted ways with Canelo Alvarez. We're going to talk about why the PBC parted ways with Canelo. We're also going to talk about all of the lies and narratives that surrounding this story. But before we do that, make sure you hit my like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subbed, and let's get into it. Canelo Alvarez and the PBC have parted ways. Now, it's been a whole lot of stories coming out that PBC was scrambling and searching for money to come up with Canelo Alvarez's guarantee of $35 million. But those are all lies. The PBC was not going to continue paying Canelo Alvarez to cherry pick opponents. They wasn't going to pay Canelo 35, 40, 50, 60 million to fight whoever he chooses. Now, I told people that this was going to go down like this when Canelo signed with the PBC. I said, Canelo signing with the PBC, if he thinks that he's going to be able to do the same thing that he did with the Zone, get paid all of this money to fight cherry pick Rudy Poots, it wasn't going to go down. I said he wasn't going to be there too long if he thought he was going to be able to get away with the same things that he did on the Zone. Well, Canelo, he thinks that he runs boxing. He thinks that he's able to do whatever he wants to do, in part because the sanctioning bodies, they let Canelo do whatever he wants to do, whenever he wants to do it, and they let Canelo skip over his mandatories and fight whoever he wants to. This has been going on because we know that you can do whatever you want with these sanctioning bodies in boxing as long as you give them a little payola under the table. And you don't think that Canelo's doing that? Of course he is. That's why he's able to run the sanctioning bodies. They don't uphold the same standards for Canelo that they do other fighters. Now, Canelo Alvarez, the main problem is the PBC, they did want him to fight Jermall Charlo, but instead they had him fight Jermell Charlo because Jermall Charlo wasn't right. Jermall Charlo was out of the sport for almost 3 years, and Canelo was still trying to fight Jermall Charlo, knowing Jermall Charlo was going through a bunch of mental problems, knowing that Jermall Charlo hadn't fought in almost 3 years. And so they said, well, we're not going to give you Jermall, but we'll give you Jermell if you sign with us. Now, Jermell Charlo was out of the sport for 16 months at the time he got in the ring with Canelo. He was coming off of hand surgery and coming up 2 weight divisions. Canelo jumped on that because Canelo is the biggest cherry picker in all of boxing. It ain't no doubt about it. If you go down this man's resume and look at all the fighters that he's fought, and then you know the circumstances within it, then you'll see this guy is the biggest cherry picker in boxing. I mean, all of the fighters that he did fight that was in their prime on the even playing field, they're all controversial wins. Israel Lara, controversial win. Austin Trout, controversial win. And I think that he might have edged out Austin Trout. It was a very close fight. Lara, I've always felt he lost that fight. We go to the first Triple G fight. I call that fight a draw. Most people thought he lost. Then we could go to the second Triple G fight. The second Triple G fight, I gave it to Canelo clearly, but by then, Triple G was already aging. Go all the way back to the Mayweather fight. He lost pretty much every round in that fight. The Bivol fight, what did Canelo win? 3 rounds in that fight? So when you go and look at the circumstances of who Canelo fought over the years, if it's on the even playing field and if it was another A-level opponent at the time, he either lost to him or he had a very, very close controversial decision. Canelo ain't what he try to play like he is. If he was who he say he is, why did he refuse to fight Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade in his prime? Why did he refuse to fight Jermall Charlo when he was in his prime? And why is he refusing to fight David Benavidez? That's what I'm really getting to. Yeah, because that's why the PBC really chunked the deuce to Canelo Alvarez, because they brought him over for a potential huge fight, probably the biggest fight in boxing, with David Benavidez. But Canelo thought that he was going to continue to stall out PBC, continue to turn down the David Benavidez fight. And what David Benavidez and his camp did, they called Canelo Alvarez's bluff. Because for those who don't know, Canelo, yeah, he did offer David Benavidez $5 million. The PBC was going to be willing to pay Canelo $55 to $60 million because David agreed to take only $5 million. Well, what Canelo and his team did, offering David Benavidez $5 million, they thought that David was going to turn it down because David Benavidez is already making that his last few fights. He made more than $5 million fighting Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade. He also made more than $5 million fighting Caleb Plant. So he's been making that payday. So you would think if you fight Canelo Alvarez in pretty much the biggest fight in boxing, he at least gonna make 10 to 15. So that's what Canelo Alvarez and his team tried to play upon David Benavidez. They offered him $5 million, expecting him to turn it down. But did he turn it down? Nope. He said, okay, we'll take the bare minimum of $5 million and we'll still fight you. After that, what did Canelo do? They didn't hear anything else from Canelo. Because Canelo Alvarez, like I've been telling people for the past few years, he was never going to fight David Benavidez. Once Canelo Alvarez lost to Demetrius Bivol, he has it made up in his mind that he's going to do whatever he has to do not to take another L. And if that means making sure that the sanctioning bodies don't do their job by throwing them a little cash under the table, well, that's what he's going to do. If that means picking and choosing every opponent into the end of your career, well, that's what he's going to do. Canelo Alvarez is the biggest duck in boxing, and the real Mexican fans, they don't respect this. Yeah, the Mexican fanboys, these new young fanboys, they think this is cool because they don't want to see their hero lose a fight. So when you talk to them about the David Benavidez and Canelo fight, they'll say, oh, David Benavidez, he missed his opportunity. He shouldn't have been putting stuff up his nose. Oh, he missed weight. They'll bring up stuff from 5 years ago. Oh, he needs to be at 175. See, that's the type of deflection tactics that these new Canelo Alvarez fanboys do. But the real Mexican fans, they don't respect Canelo because they know a real Mexican warrior will fight anybody. So they don't respect Canelo because he doesn't carry himself like a real Mexican warrior. And this is sad. Now people are going to try to make the story up that Canelo Alvarez parted ways with the PBC. No, the PBC just wasn't going to continue to pay him to cherry pick. We brought you over here. We let you have one cherry pick in Jermell Charlo. But you think we're going to continue to do that? You think we're in the business of losing money just to say that we have Canelo on our roster? People are not going to pay just tons of money to see Canelo Alvarez fight a Jermell Charlo when he was out of the sport for almost 3 years. You're not going to continue to fool people and have people pay their hard-earned money for you to continue to cherry pick. So Canelo is now going back over to the zone so he can get a fight with a Berlanga that's trash or a Jaime Munguia who's trash. That's just what it is because Eddie Hearn and Canelo have a very close relationship, and Eddie Hearn is willing to lose money paying Canelo for these fights. That's just what it is. You know, PBC, they were sick and tired of Canelo and the antics and the cherry picks he was trying to pull, and that's the bottom line. That is the bottom line. Anyway, y'all let me know how y'all feel about this. Drop a comment in the comment section. Make sure y'all hit my like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subbed. And y'all already know how I do. There you go, talking that boxing again. And I'm gone.
Swag, there's a notepad. Whoa, here we go. Wait, no.